Hello. Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome. I see you guys logging in. I am logging onto my comments. Hi, everyone. Hi, Debbie. I see you. Hey, yes, it is date night. Yes, it is. Hi, everyone. Hello, Kendall Joy. Hey, girl. Kiki loves you, honey. Hi, Diana. Hello. Thank you. Hi, Diane. Nancy. Hello. Thank you so much, everybody. Look at my necklace, too. Hey, Heather. Hey, everyone. Hi, Terry. Carolyn. Girl, I gotta thank you for my cutest package ever, you guys. Okay, so now that I see Carolyn is on, I gotta tell you, she sent us the cutest box of goodies. I was so excited. I just saw everything today, Carolyn. We got a hat. We got this cute little necklace. We got some Christmas ornaments, some goodies, just everything so fun. And it's all our Carolyn, she's from Louisiana. So she sent us this super fun package. And I was so excited when I opened the box and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. I gotta wear it. So obviously I had to wear it today on Mardi Gras. Hello. So Carolyn, thank you so much. You put a huge smile on our faces. This was such a great surprise. And I gotta tell you, it just really made our day, our week, and our month. So yes, our sweet Carolyn, thank you. Mwah. I love the little hat and the necklace. I was like, I gotta wear this for back to basics, obviously, because today is the day. So anyway, you guys, welcome. I am feeling festive today. Are you guys? Did you do anything fun for Mardi Gras? Of course, I had to bling out in my goodies today. But just having so much fun, you guys. And I have a very fun tutorial for us tonight. And that is going to be our little Mallard ducks. So I'm going to show you how to make this really cute medallion of ducks. And I did this using the Art Impressions circle dies. So the one that I used for the sticker paper, which was, I'm gonna be using on my watercolor paper. That's the 2.5 inch circle die. And then the one that I used on the outside to actually cut it out, because you can see there's a little white border around here. This one is the 3 inch circle die. So these are the two that I used for this project. And for sets that I used number 5424. This is the watercolor pond set. Okay, so of course I used the ducks here, and then I used the bigger little cattails. All right. And then I also used Bible Foliage set 2, and I used the larger like palm frond, or like the little fern branch, and the dots, of course. Okay. And then I used watercolor set 5126. It's set 4. Okay, and then it's gonna be this one right here, this branch. And then also Foliage set 1, 4051, is going to be the 2 grasses. So the big one and the small one. You guys are, I see your comments on my hat. This is all from Carolyn. She sent this to us. I'm like, I've been so pumped all day to wear this tonight. So I can be festive with everybody. Okay, so with that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and jump in. So I am using the Canson watercolor paper for tonight's project, just to show you again, this is what we're gonna make for those of you just jumping in. It's really, really sweet. It's a fun tutorial. And this is one that you can do. This is a very basic project, but you could make this very intermediate or advanced just based on other stuff that you add. So I thought I would show you this, and I can show you again. This one is more intermediate. So I added some elements to the background, darkened up some of the shadows, and then put in some more, some little rocks in the foreground here. So you could easily take this from basic to intermediate or advanced just by adding some extra stamps, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Actually, before I get started, okay, I gotta tell you guys, I'm like so pumped today. I'm just having a great day, you guys. Part of the reason I'm super excited is because, and I can't tell you like all the details, you have to go tomorrow and watch the Back to Basics, or not Back to Basics, you guys, I'm just like, okay, you gotta watch Watercolor Wednesday with the Queen. She has a huge announcement for you guys. She's on actually right now in the comments. Don't miss it. That's all I gotta say. Do not miss this announcement, okay? It's what you guys have been waiting for. It's the biggest announcement of the year. It's super excited. I'm sure you'll have some guesses. If you have a guess what it is, leave it in the comments below. You're gonna love this. I'm just saying right now, you are going to love this. So, check her out tomorrow morning. I can't give you any more details other than you gotta be there, okay? So I'm gonna turn around and we're gonna get started on this tutorial, okay? All right. So we have our little paper. Now I am going to start doing this more regularly just because I can easily tell you guys what I'm using, but for those of you who, you know, jump in later or, you know, didn't catch what I said, sometimes it's easier just to be able to see it on the paper. And I know the Queen does it, and so I thought, you know, I should probably start doing that as well. Okay, so I got all my goodies right here, including the numbers that I used for each one, okay? So if you're curious, the sticker paper is from Inkadinkado, and absolutely love it. This is what I use for, you know, borders and things like that that are, you know, die cut out. As always, almost always sticker paper, okay? So this is what we're gonna make once again on the normal orientation. So our little ducks, and they're swimming in this little pond or lake or river, stream, whatever you want it to be. But I made it really, really simple. So this is super easy to do. And then when I went to cut it out, I used one size bigger for the die itself so that I would have a really, really nice white border around here, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So I put my sticker paper right on my watercolor paper, and this is nice because it can just easily peel off without any problems, and you can reuse these over and over and over, okay? So we are gonna go ahead and begin by putting in our little ducks. So our ducks are really going to determine where everything else is going, okay? So we'll grab our little ducks, and we're gonna color these using our normal 969 and 565, okay? So, Graham Sue Taylor, you're thrilled to have them written down. Yay! Okay. Oh, awesome. Great. Okay, I will keep doing this. I see you guys are liking it. Okay, good. All right. Well, I'll keep doing it. I'm just following in the Queen's lead. So we'll keep doing this. I will probably continue to zoom in and zoom out. So if you miss, you know, what I'm using in future videos, just know that I'll zoom back out again and you'll be able to see it, okay? Also, I will need to end up covering it when I use my palette. All right? So let's go ahead and get started. I have 969 and 565, and I'm gonna go ahead and ink my little ducks now. So I'm gonna start with the 565 first, and I'll just get that on both of the ducks, and then I'll go straight over it with the 969. Now, this is a lot of ink, so we want to stamp this off. Okay, so I just grabbed a practice piece of paper, and I'm gonna stamp this off until it's nice and light. So I know I'm gonna stamp off a couple more times. Now I feel like I'm gonna have a nice light impression on my practice, or my actual project paper. So I'll give it a little bit of a huff, and we'll take our ducks and we'll put them right about there. Now, it doesn't really matter where you put these. They're just kind of setting the tone, okay? They're setting the tone for the whole composition, because that is our main image, okay? So it's the main image of the little medallion. So this is the center point, and then everything else is gonna kind of be happening around them. So based on where you put these is where all of your other little elements are gonna go. Now, if you were to put them closer over here, you may not be able to fit those cattails in. You might have to put them over here. So just put them somewhere in the center and you'll be able to fit all these little elements in here, okay? So we're gonna get our little brush out. Now I'm going to be using number 4 and number 1 brushes, and you can see the difference here. The 4 is the one that we use most often, and then the number 1 is really great for the detailed work that we like to do for the smaller images, okay? And these ducks are pretty small, so I'm going to be using both of those brushes. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and color our ducks first. So I'm gonna grab my number 4, or I'm sorry, my number 1. It's really small. I'm gonna start off with that number 1 brush. And I'm going to put a couple colors onto my palette right off the bat. So I'm gonna get some of this other stuff off, these little crumbs or something on there. I'm gonna use 249. So 249, and just a little bit of that one. And then also 969. Okay, so that's gonna be the color of our ducks for right now. I actually might put a little bit of the 565 on, just in case I want to add any shadows, which I know actually that I will do, now that I'm thinking about it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in a little bit, just because I know you guys like to see it nice and close. So I'm gonna go right in nice and close so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Okay, so we're gonna go and take our teeny tiny brush, that number 1, and I'm gonna go 969. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of that 969, and we're gonna start off putting in this right at his chest. Okay, so I'm just going to paint this on a little bit under here. Now these, you know, traditional mallards, they have kind of a wider belly, and then brown feathers on top, and then kind of a brown chest. Okay, so it's not going to be you know, perfect obviously, but we're just going to get that idea in there. And then I'm going to take that same brush with a little bit of water on it and just blend this out a bit more so that I can get a really nice blend here. Sometimes when you first put the color onto your paper, it can feel really heavy And if that happens to you, you can just take a little bit of water and just kind of move that color around and blend it out a little bit. Okay. Kendall saw 2 ducks in their creek. Oh, very cool. Oh, I bet it's the little couple that comes back every year. So fun. All right, so I'm just gonna keep going here. And for the male, he has a green head. So I'm gonna grab that 249. And I'm gonna leave just one white, tiny little stripe between the green and the brown. Okay, and I'm gonna put this right on into his head. And we'll just leave a little tiny space between that green and the brown. Okay, so wipe off any excess color or water you have like I just had to do. This is a really tiny space, so take your time. Don't rush it. Take your time and get that green in. So as we know, the top of the head is going to be highlighted, so you're not going to have as bright of a green up at the top as you do down his neck, okay? Okay. So I'll keep going. I'll grab a little bit more of that green and we're gonna layer this in a bit more. And I'm gonna have a darker green kind of at the base of his neck. And then it's just gonna get lighter as it goes up, okay? Once again, we'll take that 969 of that brown into his chest again. So again, we're layering this color. And we'll put a bit more in the feathers. Okay. So cute. Very basic little duck, but you get the idea. He doesn't have to be, you know, perfect. You get the idea just from the green head that he's a little mallard, okay? I'm gonna grab a little bit of that blue, just a very small amount of this blue, the 565. And I'm gonna put this right along the base of his body. Just right along that base. Okay, I need a little bit of a orange or yellow color, so I'm going to use, which one did I use? Let me check. I used number 026, which is kind of a gold, like ochre color, 026. I didn't want something super bright. This has a little bit of brown in it, so it's a little bit richer than, you know, a true yellow. So I'm gonna grab that color and just put it right onto his little beak. Okay, now we're gonna do similar to our little female back here. So I'm gonna grab some of that 969. So the females, as we know, are going to want to blend in with surroundings. So they're not gonna have those really bright, strong colors like the males do. They wanna just blend in so that they are hidden from predators. All right, I'm gonna take that brown and just work it up into the top of the head. Okay. And just blending this out a little bit with just water. So I've added just water to my brush and I'm blending this out. Again, we'll give her a little bit of a shadow at the front. And blend that out again. So when you want to blend, you just have to take a little bit of water and blend. Go over the lines that you just made that you feel like are too strong and go back and forth over those lines and it will just blend so nice. Okay. Actually, now that I'm thinking about this male, this part actually comes all the way back here and then it comes around. I was like, there's something that isn't right with the male, and that's what it is. This actually comes all the way like that. Okay, so the females actually also have some little dots. So we don't have to go through the whole body, but we can put a couple little dots in here. Okay, and we'll go back in with that yellow. Okay. And we'll give her also a little yellow beak. Blend in those little dots a little bit more. Okay. So now, I told you guys this, I don't know how many times, so forgive me if I'm a broken record, but every time we have a little animal, we always want to darken the eyes. Okay, so we're going to take, this is just that same Winsor Newton, but you can use a micron tip if you want to. So I'm just going to take, since the eyes are so tiny, it's going to be really hard to leave any kind of white in there. So I'm just going to take that and put the little eye the best I can. Okay. And you can see it just brings them to life when you darken up the eyes even just a little bit. See that? Okay, so we need a shadow on the base of her body as well, which I just realized I didn't do. So I'm going to grab that 565 and just put that little shadow right at the bottom of her body. Okay. Now we can do all of the other elements. So let's put in our water. Okay. So let me see if I can get this in. So for the water, I'm using 565, and I'm using that same color for the water and for the sky. Okay. So we'll take that 565 on my palette. And I'm going to switch brushes to my number 4 brush because I want to make sure that I'm having a nice, a big surface to put in some washing strokes, which is really nice with the bigger brush. The number 1, you could do it, but it will just, you'll have very thin strokes, and you really want some of the wider ones, okay? Okay, so I'm going to grab that 565 and I'm going to begin to put a little bit of this water in. And I'm going to start by putting in just a little line at both ends of the duck, okay? Same thing here. Even though she's angled, okay, we don't want to follow her angle. We want to do a straight line with the water, because even though she's angled, the water is not. Okay, the water is still straight. It's still horizontal. It's still going to flow, okay? Or it's going to be flat. It's not going to be coming that way at least not her shadow. So you want to have her floating on top. If you follow that, all of a sudden she's sunk down into the water, okay? So we'll bring in this blue across here and down under his body. So he is horizontal, she is not. So we want to follow his line here, okay? We want to follow his line. So I'm going to come in again with a little bit darker now. And I'm going to put in another shadow, but I'm not going to go as far as the first one. And under her. Okay. This is looking good. And we'll bring out some more lines just with a little bit of water. We'll come back in. And reiterate those lines. Okay. Do I have any questions on the water or the ducks? So we're basically just putting in the basic water right now. This is just where the ducks are. We will add a little bit, or we may add a little bit more based on where we're going to put our grass and all of that good stuff. But I want to make sure that I'm getting your questions in too, because this is a kind of a different project. Maybe some of you haven't played with the water yet, or, you know, the ducks. So this is a really fun one, but it does require a little bit of thinking as far as where the water is going to go and where your shadows are. So if you think about the shadows in terms of where the ducks are, you know, they're floating in the water. So they're in the water, their feet are down here kind of kicking along. And when you have a, you know, the sun is shining down. So right underneath their body is where you're going to have that darker shadow. Okay. So you want to come in, I can do this again, and you want to put your shadow right at the base of the body. Now you want to keep that shadow horizontal. You don't want to follow the line of the tail because the tail is not in the water. The tail is outside of the water. And when you stay horizontal and you don't follow the shape of the tail, you actually elevate that tail up above the water. Okay? Okay. Now we are going to keep going, and we're going to begin to put in some of the elements around our little ducks, okay? So I am going to take my little grass, and we're going to begin to kind of build on this side and then the back with our teeny tiny grass, and so the bigger teeny tiny grass and the smaller teeny tiny grass. Okay, so this is a really good lesson on perspective. So things that are closer to you are going to appear larger. So the larger grass will go in the foreground, and then the smaller grass will go into the background. And it is kind of covered up with some of these little ferns, but you can see the larger grass is here, and then we place the smaller grass in the background. Okay. So I'm going to start with that foreground grass, and I'm going to take this in number 177. So 177, I can move my palette out of the way and bring back my little schematic here. Okay, well, there we go. Okay, so 177 on the larger grass. And I'm going to take that and just start placing it right along this circle. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to stamp it just right alongside that circle. Notice I have dark to light variation, and when I stamp this in, I'm stamping in at least 5 times just to get a really nice variation in that stamp. Now I can keep going if I want to. If I huff on it, I'm sure to get a couple more little images, but it's up to you if you want to do that, okay? And then I'll put a couple in on this side. And I do like to kind of angle it down. It's just a little bit more pleasing on the eye, I think, or pleasing to the eye, if you have things kind of angled down. So you can follow the shape of the circle. I'm not going straight across. I could, there would be nothing wrong with that, but I just like to kind of follow these lines. We have a horizontal line here, so I like to kind of go against that and put in some angles. Okay. Now we'll put in our teeny tiny grass into the background. So we'll take that same color and the teeny tiny one, and I'm gonna put a couple little grasses here. Now these ones will be more horizontal because this is actually going to be where the pond stops. So we'll put in a couple little grasses here. So this is the edge of the pond, okay? And I can put in just a couple little ones like that. Okay. Our grasses are definitely in now. And we want to put in our little cattails. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple of these right up front. Now this does come with a really cute, where is that? I had all of my little, here we go. A really cute greenery, this little guy comes with it, and this is really, really great. You can totally use this with the cattails, and you can see how that looks here. When you put it with the cattails, it's really neat. I want to keep this nice and simple, and so I'm just going to use the grass with the cattails, but you can use this greenery. It's really, really nice. Okay, so I'm going to take those cattails and I'm just going to ink this in brown, that 969 brown. And I'll put a couple of them in here. Just keep it really simple. I'm not going to overdo it in here. Actually, I have one kind of sticking out there, so we'll just put a couple more in. Okay. So now we can take our brush and go ahead and begin to pull out some of the color on here. Okay. I'm going to move this and zoom in a little bit so that we can get a nice view here. So I'm going to take that number 4 brush and I'm going to begin to just pull out some of this grass. Notice I'm just using a really nice flick of my hand to get these like wild grasses to come out. Okay, kind of wild. And we want to come right up to the edge of that circle so that we get a nice framed image. If we don't go up to the edge, then it's not going to read as a circle as much as it could, I should say. Okay, so I'm just pulling out this grass and I'm going to turn it so that I can get a nice flick of the wrist here. Kind of like that. And then I'll come back in. Okay. And I'm gonna add just a bit of water to the cattails. I'm not gonna touch the whole cattail, just some of it, so that we can get a nice blend. Okay. Now we can take our water, and I want to bring up the water right to the edge of this grass, okay? So I'm going to bring it up right to the edge, and that is going to just signify again that that's the water's edge, okay? So we'll grab that 565, and I'm going to bring the water right up, just a very, very light amount of water, but I'm going to bring it right up to the edge there. So that we know that that is where land begins. Okay. I'm going to blend this out just a little bit as we come into the greenery, and I just have water on my brush. Just blend, blend, blend. Now I don't want to get too close to those cattails, okay, because I'll just pull the brown right into the water, and that's not what we're looking for. Okay. All right. Now that we have that in, we want to go ahead and put in our sky, okay? So the sky is going to be very light. It's going to be very loose. Let me just show you again. So all I did was keep it really, really light here. You don't have to have dark, dark colors on all of the edges of the circle, okay? Sometimes it's nice to give your eye a little bit of a break. So I kept this really light. I kept the sky kind of in here. And the way that I differentiated the water from the sky is my stroke, which is straight for the water and dabbed for the sky, those two. And then also I left a white cushion or barrier between the water and the sky, okay? So when I put in my sky, I'm going to leave a white space and then put the sky in. So the white would be here and then my sky would be up in here, okay? Even though they're the same color, you can differentiate between the two, both by the stroke and by the white space, okay? So I'm going to take that 565, get some good water on there. Okay, so 565, I'm just going to begin to dab in my sky. So you can see the stroke is different than we have in the water. So grab a little bit more. And notice I'm putting this in before I do the leaves up top, right? Because we don't want to fight with those leaves, because that would just be absolutely a nightmare to try to go between those leaves. You're just never going to get it to look like it's all the way behind. But if you put in the sky and everything first, then you can get a really nice look of that sky kind of coming through the leaves. Okay. So I'll put a little bit more blue in here. Make sure you have a decent amount of water on your brush. Notice I have like a little pool here that I'm grabbing from. And I'm coming in here and bringing this all the way up to my circle's edge. Now you can't necessarily see it, you know, where that blue is right at the edge, but when we take this off, you will be able to see the edge of that blue where the circle, in the shape of a circle, even though it's really light, okay? So you can see, you know, even though these are the same color, you know where the water is and where the sky is, okay? All right, so now we're gonna put in our little branches up top. Make sure that your you know, your sky is nice and dry. So while we're waiting for the sky to dry, let's go ahead, because it's not quite dry yet, let's go ahead and do some detail work on our ducks. And I'm going to use that Twintone brown. And I'm just going to come in and put in some little detail work here, maybe under the little feathers. And just have this little guy, give him some details. Because when you go in with your brush and everything, you can really lose some of these lines just because it's water-based, you know, it's a very normal thing to lose a few of your lines. So you can always just come back in and put your lines back if you need to, okay? Same thing with our little cattails. They have little toppers. If you want to put, you know, maybe you're missing a line, you can do this. So it's totally up to you, okay? All right, now that that sky is dry, I'm gonna come in with my little leafy branch, and we'll zoom back out just a little bit here. So the little leafy branch, and I'm gonna go 249. Okay, 249 on this one. And I'm gonna ink mostly just the leaves. I don't need too much of that, of the branch itself, like down in here, but I'm gonna do the leaves. And I'm just gonna put as many as I feel like this little composition needs. So it may not need as many as I did in the original, and maybe it needs more. I don't know yet. Okay, so I'm just gonna move this around so that I get my little leaves in here. The nice thing about nature is that it's not perfect, right? I mean, things kind of hang down, and they kind of go wherever, whichever way. I think I'm happy with that. Does not have to cover the whole top. It can. Maybe I'll bring a few more down on the side. And then I'll do maybe less of the big one in the front. So these are all always gonna look different. That's kind of, you have to appreciate that about this. If you try to get the exact same thing in every single, you know, composition you do, you're gonna be disappointed because it's never gonna look the exact same. I can do something and go to teach it to you guys and it's gonna be different. Okay, I'm going to take my number 4 and I'm going to begin to just add water to this. Now, I don't want to add too much. I do want these to kind of appear, you know, thin, you know, a couple branches of leaves kind of hanging down in front of these little guys. So I like to keep this really loose. And I can zoom in a little bit more here and give you an idea of what I'm doing. I have a little bit of water to blend out these little leaves. And I am bringing the color out just a little bit. I like it to kind of blend in with that blue sky. It just kind of connects that color in even more. Okay, now we can come in with our little fern. So this one, which is actually the bigger of the two, and I'll zoom back out again. I'm gonna go 249 again for this one. So I don't know if you've noticed, but all the foreground leaves and branches and all of that have been 249, and then the grass in here has been 177. So it's really nice to kind of keep it separate. So I'm going to take that 249 and I'm going to begin to just kind of stamp these little ferns in. So it's kind of like we're hiding in the bushes, sort of watching these sweet little ducks go about their day. Okay. Be careful, I almost got off my sticker paper there. Okay, maybe one more in here. It's really up to you how much you want to do. I like a lot of stuff going on. So you can have a lot of stuff going on, or you can keep it really simple. It's really your choice, okay? So I'll take my brush again, and I'm going to just come along here and just touch the individual little leaves here. Don't feel like you have to do this perfectly, of course. If you want to blend stuff out, you can. I just kind of like to dab a little bit and bring down this color. Remember, we want to make sure that our circle has color on all parts of it, even if it's very, very light. Okay. And just like that. Okay, Tina, I'm just using the large fern, but you could easily go in with the small one as well if you wanted something that was a little bit less large, I guess, because this is pretty big. I'm just bringing out a little bit of that color to fill in some of these empty spaces, but you can do whatever you want. Okay, now I'm gonna take my little dots, and I think I just lost connection for a second, but I'm gonna take my little dots and we're gonna put these throughout our composition. Okay, make sure you're dry, like I said, make sure you're nice and dry. And I'm gonna use number 565. And I'll just ink one side of it. I don't need both sides of it, but you guys know I like to kind of stamp off, at least in the beginning, just so that I have a little bit more control about where this is going, so it's not super, super dark. So I usually just use the one side. Unless I'm doing a wreath, then I'll do both sides. So I'll stamp it off and just kind of see how dark that is. I like that. And then with the lighter ones, I'll kind of come up into the lighter areas once it's kind of been stamped off a little bit. Can you see that? These are very light up in here. I don't want a super, super dark dot up into the white area. I want to keep that really, really nice and light, okay? So I'm going to come in again, and I'll come straight in this time, do some darker ones, and come over here. Very, very light ones go into the open air. Okay, it'll keep the composition, it'll keep your highlights where your highlights are, and your shadows and your darker areas where your darker areas are. You want to stay, like the darker dots are in the denser areas, and then the lighter ones are in the lighter areas. Okay, you want to stick with that. All right, so I am going to go ahead and now remove my sticker paper for the reveal. And we have a really, really cute little duck composition. And this is just super fun. I love this little project. It's super easy to do, and you can use the little elements all over the place. Notice that really, really light sky, even though we couldn't really see it initially, when you take off the paper, you can really see where that line is. It just kind of gives your eye a break from those deeper, darker colors. Okay, and then we always want to sign our work, right? So I'll just kind of come right up in here. And 22. Okay. All right, everybody, as always, if you like this composition and you want to win it, go ahead and leave a little comment below and let me know that you would like to win this little guy. It's very, very simple. Use your imagination, and like I said, you can take this and you can make it more intermediate by adding in some more little elements, putting in more of your shadows. I put some rocks in here, a little stump in the background. I have some more shadows on my ducks. So you can easily make this more, you know, intermediate or advanced. This is all about starting with the basics and doing something really simple. And then, you know, you can elevate that thing, whatever it is, you can always elevate it to make it more intermediate or more advanced, okay? So you can see the difference between the two. This one is the basic that we have not gone too deep into. And then this one is obviously the one that you can make more intermediate, okay? So I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera back around and I will say my goodbyes to you. Okay, let's see if I can do this without dropping you. Oh, whoop, whoop. Okay, oh no. What happened? Okay, good. I jinxed myself. I was like, oh no, something's gonna happen, and it did. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for joining me once again. I know you could be doing so many things and you're right here with me. That just means so much to me. I thank you for that. Okay, make sure to follow us on of course, our Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, all of that good stuff. Tomorrow, you're going to get a really big announcement. So don't forget to be there. If you can't be there, watch the replay. You will not want to miss this, okay? I love you guys, and I will see you next week. Carolyn, thank you once again for my bling. I absolutely love it. You are so wonderful and so thoughtful to send all of those goodies. Happy Mardi Gras, everybody. Bye.